There's someone in your life right now who always declines the group hangout, who never posts on social media, who seems perfectly content spending Friday night alone, and you probably think something's wrong with them. But what if I told you that psychology suggests the opposite might be true? See, we've been taught that having lots of friends means you're successful, likable, well-adjusted. But research is revealing something fascinating. People with fewer social connections often possess a different kind of intelligence. Not the kind you measure on a test, but the kind that sees through what most people miss. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine you're at a party. Most people are laughing, sharing stories about their weekend, talking about who's dating who, but there's someone in the corner, quiet, observing. Society calls them antisocial. Psychology calls them something else entirely. These individuals aren't avoiding connection because they can't make friends. They're avoiding it because most social interaction feels like noise to them. Think about the last conversation you had that actually changed how you see the world. Not small talk about the weather, not gossip about someone who isn't there, but a real conversation that made you think differently. For most people, that's rare. For highly intelligent individuals, that's the only kind of conversation worth having. And here's where it gets interesting. When you spend your life craving depth in a world that runs on superficiality, you start making different choices. You stop showing up to events that drain you. You stop pretending to care about things that don't matter. You become incredibly selective, not because you think you're better than everyone else, but because you've learned something most people haven't, that your energy is finite, and most social situations are asking you to spend it on absolutely nothing. There's this fascinating study that shows people with higher IQs actually report feeling less satisfied after socializing. Not because they're socially awkward, but because their brains process social interaction differently. While others get energized by being around people, intelligent minds get exhausted. It's like asking an introvert to perform all day. Eventually, they need silence just to think clearly again. But here's what really separates them. They've developed this almost supernatural ability to detect inauthenticity. You know how you sometimes get a weird feeling about someone but can't explain why? They know exactly why. They're reading micro-expressions, analyzing word choices, picking up on inconsistencies between what people say and what they do. And once they spot it, they can't unsee it. So they pull back, not dramatically, not with confrontation, just quietly. Because drama is another form of noise, and they've already got enough of that. Now, most people panic at the thought of being alone. They need constant validation, likes on their photos, responses to their texts, plans for the weekend. But something shifts when you reach a certain level of self-awareness. You stop needing external proof that you matter. You already know who you are. You've spent enough time in your own head to understand your values, your goals, your worth. And that internal certainty changes everything.
While everyone else is trying to fit in, these individuals are focused on something entirely different: growth. They're reading books that challenge them. They're learning skills that fascinate them. They're working on projects that might not make sense to anyone else, but make perfect sense to them. And here's the thing. That kind of focus requires solitude. Creation happens in quiet spaces, not crowded rooms. There's this beautiful paradox, too. People assume that those who spend time alone don't feel deeply, but the opposite is true. Highly intelligent people often feel everything more intensely. They're deeply empathetic, almost painfully aware of others' emotions. But they've also learned to set boundaries that most people never develop. When they sense negative energy, jealousy, or dishonesty, they don't try to fix it or fight it. They just create distance. Not because they don't care, but because they've realized that protecting their peace isn't selfish, it's necessary. And they're watching, always watching. While everyone else is talking, they're learning. They notice how people change their story depending on who's listening. They see who gets quiet when certain topics come up. They catch the things that go unsaid. Their silence isn't emptiness, it's observation. Their mind is constantly analyzing, connecting patterns, understanding dynamics that others miss entirely. But here's what nobody talks about. Intelligent people outgrow relationships faster. Not because they're cold or disloyal, but because they evolve rapidly. They read something that shifts their perspective. They have an experience that changes their priorities. They realize a truth that reorganizes everything they thought they knew. And when that happens, some people no longer fit into their life. Not because those people are bad, but because the fit is gone. And staying in relationships that no longer serve you isn't loyalty. It's stagnation. This is why they think long-term, while everyone else thinks about next weekend. They're not asking who wants to hang out. They're asking, where do I want to be in 5 years, and is this person helping me get there? That kind of thinking can make you feel alien in a world obsessed with living in the moment. But later in life, when that focus has built something real, those same people who called them weird will call them successful.
So here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. Having few or no friends doesn't mean something's broken in you. It might mean your operating system is just different. You value honesty over harmony, peace over popularity, depth over distraction. And in a world that constantly demands you perform, post, and prove yourself, choosing to step back and just exist is almost revolutionary. The person who sits alone isn't lonely. They're selective. They're not antisocial. They're anti-superficial. And maybe, just maybe, they've figured out something the rest of us are still learning. That being comfortable in your own company is the ultimate form of freedom. Because once you stop needing people to complete you, you finally get to choose people who complement you. And that changes everything.